Saturday on Beyond the Vibe, we're joined by Landon Milbourn of Goodbye June.
Three Chords is about my grandpa and Brandon's grandpa as well. And he was a traveling evangelist who preached and played music all across like the Midwest and the South back in the late 50s, early 60s.
It's time!
I remember the first time we got on a video game, I was like freaking out. I was like, this is... But I learned about Rage Against the Machine, and I learned about like Lemmy and Motorhead, and those guys like Tony Hawk games, man, like video games. And so like the first time we were on a Madden football game, and that was cool, man. Like
that was very cool, man.
Little big game. I was like, oh my God, we're on the home screen.
You're officially, just to let you know, you're officially the latest interview you've ever done. But that's our commitment for wanting to talk to you, Landon.
Man,
we're all for it, man.
I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for doing this so late.
No worries, man.
Yeah, man. It's nice. It's nice because I think we descended to, so it's midnight over here.
It is.
Yeah. So it's nice. You reach this kind of level of utopia and you start to get a bit tired. It's like being high.
You're gonna have some really weird, good questions for me. Then I'm ready for it.
Yeah. It's basically gonna be like sat around a campfire. And there's always that one guy with the big beard who starts talking about fucking space.
Pink elephants.
Yeah. While we're all here. But no, thanks for joining us, man. I'm fucking really excited to chat to you, and hope you've had a good day, and forward to it.
Yeah, same. So happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
So we're here with Landon of Goodbye June. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, man. Now, of course, Goodbye June hails from Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, what was it like growing up for you, Landon, over there? And what first attracted you to becoming a musician, and in particular, vocalist? What drew you to that path?
I just grew up under my dad. He was a music minister in churches my whole life. So, and his dad played piano. Everybody in our family's always been into music. So it was just like you were born into it, man. I mean, it was just, as soon as you start learning how to, feed yourself, you're playing guitar, you're playing piano, you're getting made to do something whether you want to or not. So, so I always wanted to be a drummer when I was younger. My dad just kept pushing me to sing. So inevitably he broke through, and here I am. I'd literally give him all the credit for making me do that, because I totally just wanted to be a drummer and hide behind a drum kit. So,
well, it's an interesting thing because it's very much a juxtaposition in terms of roles. Normally, you find that the drummers, like you say, pick that role because they don't want to be that guy at the front. And it's obviously a testament to the role that your dad played in your life and your development, that he was able to push you from behind that kit and to be at the front. It's very rare you find somebody that wanted to be a drummer that ended up being a front man. It's an interesting thing.
It definitely, performing at a young age definitely breaks that nervousness and shy part that, you have when you're, trying to figure out and hone your voice or whatever. And so I think that was a good part of it too, to like break that, that kind of anxiety that everybody gets, especially when you're younger. So,
did you say your dad was like a church, sort of within the church and doing music within the church? Were they your first gigs then, singing in the church?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a mic in front of me probably when I was like 8 years old or younger. I mean, it just that's pretty much where I learned how to play music. Learned how to play drums in church. I learned how to sing in church, and once you're doing it 2 or 3 times a week, I mean, you're talking, you're a kid and you've got a steady gig, you're getting your practice in consistently. And then, I kind of obviously went the opposite way and started playing rock and roll music. And it was a good way to cut your teeth basically.
Yeah. So, I imagine it's a very different, because I think correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like there's more of a music sort of gospel scene within that. I mean, I grew up going to a Baptist church over here in England, and I remember the first time I walked into church like wearing a Skinner shirt, and like all the old mares that were all whispering, you know, and it's like every week my hair would get longer and my beard would get longer, you know, and it's like, and my dad always had long hair, and he's a deacon for the church, you know, so it's obvious his influence was raining through, but we haven't got that scene over here, so it's really nice that you were able to kind of mix them two worlds, because they're very sort of separate over here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we played a lot too, my dad was always into gospel music, and in particular black gospel music. So there was a lot of blues based stuff, you know, coming out of that. And, you know, blues, jazz, all kinds of that, really cool chord progressions, just fun, you know, tempos, and just getting into it, man. So it really did translate pretty easily into the style of rock and roll we play. I feel like, I mean, we definitely love the aspect of that, you know, having that kind of gospel feel at times with the rock and roll sound. It's kind of fun to experiment with. So
yeah, and that shines through, man, definitely. But in terms of the rock and roll element, can you remember the first kind of gig you went to?
As I went to, or I played? I guess
that you actually kind of went to. I mean, I always think of the first rock and roll show I went to, and it was a bit of a eureka moment for me. Like, can you remember back and kind of, you know, that first rock and roll show you went to and the inspiration that you felt when you was at that gig?
Yeah, man, I think I was like, I can't remember how old I was. I was really young. I want to say I was like 10. Anyways, I watched, I think my first real rock show was actually Creed. It was at an arena in Kansas City, and I'd never been to a rock show, you know, like that. So it was cool, man. I can't remember if Jerry Cantrell opened up for him, or I can't remember who it was, because I saw him twice on that tour. But yeah, man, you see the lights and you hear the guitars, and, you know, it's definitely, it's always a beautiful thing, especially when you first start going and you're kind of discovering that this is something that you really love, you know, and it keeps growing and influencing you. And, you know, looking back on all the shows that I've been to over the years, I mean, I still get that feeling, man. I went and watched The Who right before COVID happened, and I was awesome, you know? So it's like, you know, music never gets old. And if you were to ever to like be like, I don't want to go to shows or blah, 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 then I think, you know, you've lost it. So.
Speaking of that, you know, you guys have that real kind of clear classic rock sound, you know, and that kind of old school identity, and like not just in like the band sound, but like the overall image as well. Like, did you guys kind of set out with that clear vision of what you guys wanted to be from the beginning, or has that been like something that, you know, you kind of experimented with, or, you know, worked on over time?
I think we've always had a game plan to be, you know, unique with our sound, and you know, really what it is, it's rock and it's all of our obviously influences that we have with that Southern kind of whatever that gets put on it. I think it just kind of, that we knew what we were going for, and you know, by trial and error, of course, that changes a little here and there, and every record cycle, you know, things change, and you know, you find new ways to, you know, write your music and to portray, you know, your style of music. But yeah, I think we just always wanted to be like the bands that we listened to growing up, and especially the artists that greatly, you know, influenced us. I mean, that was kind of our goal, to be a modern version of all the greats, man. I mean, like, you know, you name it, you know, we love it. So I think we always tried to have sort of a path. I hope that answered your question correctly. Hope I didn't just butcher that, but yeah.
No, it's like, you know, when I've listened to the album, it's like I can't pinpoint like just one influence. It's like you've put a load of them into like some great big melting pot, you know, throughout the years, and it's like that's kind of the outcome, which I think is really cool. And, you know, speaking of that, of course the latest album, which is out now, See Where the Night Goes, of course that's your third studio release now. It has that real kind of pure rock and roll vibe, while still kind of retaining that kind of depth and substance. Did you approach the album differently compared to, you know, your previous releases?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we set out to really replicate some of the albums, that specific albums, tonally, you know, like how they used to get those huge drum sounds, and beautiful, clean, simple guitar left, guitar right mixing, and we did everything to tape, and we just had a game plan of we wanted the album to be a little more cohesive stylistically than the last two albums, because the last two albums we had, there was a little more variety on those two previous records, whereas this one there's variety within itself, but it's a little more cohesive, and that was planned. I mean, we wanted to try and just write I've said this 1,000 times, I feel like, but we wanted to try and write a record that you could just put on at a party and not get tired of listening to it, or a barbecue or whatever, like just a good feeling album that I always think of summertime albums. There's a vibe about summertime albums, and you have, growing up as a kid, if I hear like a old Kings of Leon record or a Blink-182 record, I go immediately back to like the summer for some reason. And I think that's what we were trying to do with this record, man. Just something that, people can make memories with. And, it's just tried something new with mixing. And like I said, songwriting. So it was fun. It was a really fun process to record, for sure.
Was this the first album you'd done with Paul? Obviously, from that kind of mixed and produced the album. For those that don't know, he's been nominated for awards, on countless of times. We're going through something similar with me and the Boys in Rivers, where we've not had a producer role in there before. And I think when you've got quite an organic sound and an organic feel within the band, you naturally just write on instinct. And then to bring somebody into that dynamic, it's a really enlightening process, but it can be a bit difficult as well, because you form attachment to songs, particularly when I think you're so connected to the music, as I feel is the same with you boys. Like, how did kind of his influence on the album change the writing or the recording dynamic for you boys?
Well, we worked with Paul on our first record, Magic Valley. He produced that record. We met him in 2013, I believe. So I think collectively we've probably written, I don't know, 50 songs with Paul.
Wow.
So it's really, and a lot of, over 70% of those didn't make records. They're just, one day I'm sure they will. It's good to have a little stockpile if you ever run low, But I think he's always kind of been a mentor to us. So when we write with him, or work with him, he didn't write with us on every song on the record. But he's like a fourth member of the band. That's like, we trust him. He's wise and he trusts us. And, it actually really flows well together. We kind of share within we had with this record and what we were trying to go for, sonically and tone wise and everything. And he immediately latched on, and I think he really strengthened the process. And I have literally nothing bad to say about him as a producer or a writer. I think it was a strength for us to bring him in, and so yeah. It was an interesting process. I don't think if anything, it made everything more positive and more, what would be the word to say, streamlined, I guess, or efficient, just easy really, and fun. So yeah, it was definitely a good thing.
I think because obviously, like you say, he's been with you for a long time. It's cool because he's felt the evolution within the band as well. So like when it comes to moments, like you say, when you want to try something on a record, he understands why you want to try that at that specific point. And I think it's nice how you say how he's almost like another member. He's part of that family around the band. And I think something like that is really important.
Yeah, it's good to have a few people, in your corner that you can always talk to about different things, or bounce ideas off of, or it's good to have people that you trust, and he's always been a guy like that for us. So yeah,
that's killer, man.
So with the lead into kind of singles, Just Three Chords and Step Aside, which are like ridiculously kind of catchy, and it has that real kind of feel good vibe that you talked about. Could you maybe talk a bit about those tracks and kind of what are the meaning behind those songs?
Yeah, Three Chords is about my grandpa and Brandon's grandpa as well. And he was a traveling evangelist who preached and played music all across like the Midwest and the South back in the late 50s, early 60s. And so we thought it would be cool to write a song that basically mirrored, you know, because like what I talked about at the beginning of the interview was my influence of being brought up with family that loved music. But he was kind of the forefront of all that. So we wanted to write a song in 3 chords where it's the parallels of an old man, you know, going around preaching and singing the gospel to people, and you know, and then a sweaty rock and roll club, you know, cigarettes and beer stains on the floor, you know, how it's not that much difference, and even the experience that we had in the churches that we pretty wild. So and music was a huge part of moving people, and so it's just that parallel universe. You know, you can go to church or you can go to a rock club. Either way, you're getting your therapy and you're getting your musical Jones, if you will, or whatever. So we were just trying to have fun, honestly, and write something that we had never heard before, and with that song. And then Step Aside kind of hits a little bit about like our families traveling and stuff, and whatever. But I think the bulk part of that song was just, let's just write a nasty, fun, upbeat riff that's just straight to the point lyrically, and just fun. And I think that riff on Step Aside that you hear on the chorus, that was just Brandon's like warm-up riff. He's been doing that for like a decade. Literally, he's been playing, you know, because everybody has the same warm-up riff or whatever. And then one day Tyler's like, hey guys, check this riff out. And he started playing it. And then he's like, all right, this is the chorus idea, I think. And he's like, Brandon, I totally stole this from you. And he started playing. And we're like, that's fucking cool. Let's do it. So, yeah, we were just trying to write some fun, you know, rock and roll songs that kind of reminded us of, you know, the bands that we all love from, you know, 70s, and, you know, just trying to write fun music, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, we recently did a chat where we spoke about the resurgence of vinyl. Because I mean, I've always been a vinyl boy. Ryan's just recently felt the addiction. It's hitting his wallet hard. I'm guiding him through it. You know, are you a vinyl man? You obviously the new album's available on vinyl. Are you a vinyl man yourself? And if so, like, what do you think vinyl brings to that experience that little bit more?
I think it's
oh, he's reaching.
Here we go.
There we go.
Hey.
You know, do a little selfless promotion.
It's beautiful.
Got to.
And I don't know. People are selling cassettes now too. Like that's a thing. Yeah. So it's. I just think people like nostalgia any way they can get it, and records, man. There's no better way to listen to music, in my opinion. I'm in my little home studio right now, and I have a record player hooked up to the studio speakers. And I sometimes I'll just sit in here and just listen to music, you know, and just kind of chill. So it's just a vibe, man. I think I'm so glad that it came back and it's like a thing again,
big time.
Like a decade or whatever it's been. But I think it definitely is the preferred way to listen to this record in particular if you have the accessibility, because you can really hear the warmth and the guitar tones and everything. It's fun. So.
Can you remember that kind of, like, obviously you're a vinyl guy, can you remember the first album you bought?
And I don't think bought would have been,
or something maybe given.
I've had a lot given to me. I think the first tax that I got given to me was probably about 14 years ago. I got given like Beatles, Johnny Cash, like a bunch of old records, rock records. I can't remember what else, but I think it was the Beatles' Rubber Soul. I think I could say that would probably be the first one.
It's a good first one. I mean, that's pretty solid, man.
It's not bad, is it?
It's like the coolest. Like, I love that album cover. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I think it's such a wonderful moment as well when your own band, release an album on vinyl. For me, I think that feels like it's like you say it's a vibe and experience with vinyl. And I think when you can look at your own, your own band, and spin your own band, I think that's a bit of an emotional thing.
Yeah, it is. It's cool, man. It's very special. It's those little moments that you dreamed about when you were younger,
Yeah, big time.
And like that, and like I remember the first time we got on a video game, I was like freaking out. I was like, this is because like growing up how I did, up until I got into like 12, 13 years old, I didn't really have access to a lot of music outside of like church music. So a lot of the music I would learn about, I learned about Rage Against the Machine, and I learned about like Lemmy and Motorhead and those guys, like Tony Hawk games, man, like video games. And so like the first time we were on a Madden football game, and that was cool, man. Like
that was very cool, man.
Little kid game. I was like, oh my God, we're on the home screen. But yeah, I think anything like that's it. Yeah, like vinyl's very special, and definitely a surreal, emotional moment, like you said, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Big time, man. Obviously, you said about kind of like getting on Madden as being sort of like a mad experience, and I think it's what's moments like that. It's like, shit, this is happening now. Like we're reaching out to people and spreading the love, man. And I think moments like that are really important. Is there any particular like goals or milestones going forward that you personally would love to achieve in the next few years? Any places you'd love to tour? Any festivals you'd love to play? Any bands you'd particularly love to play?
Oh, there's 1,000 bands. I mean, we could talk about that at 4 a.m. there. But yeah, I would love to play in general, man. I after COVID and then the whole shutdown and everything, I'll play at a gas station. I literally will play in a public restroom if it means I can play music. No, there's several different venues I'd love to play, and there's several things I'd love to do. I'd love to play Red Rocks out in Colorado. That's a really awesome venue that I've been to, but obviously never played yet. I don't know, man. There's a lot of festivals in the UK. There's festivals over here. I mean, that's a lot as well. I think ultimately just to keep growing and to see growth in our live shows, and whether that's production or whatever. I just want to see it keep growing, and I'm happy with that. Just as long as we're doing it and constantly pushing ourselves to do new things and try new things, then I'm happy with that. So I think that's ultimately what I would love, and hopefully with that type of path, all the what do you call it? I feel like it's 12 at night here for me. I'm running like
you're getting our energy. It's the
I know you guys are tired. I am too. I'm like 2 hours in. 2 hours of sleep last night. Sorry.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's great. Really smart decisions. Really smart. It did involve alcohol, in case you were wondering. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All the like steady growth and just doing as much as we can, whether that's like late night shows, certain venues, award shows, festivals. Like I'll take it all if I can, but if not, as long as I'm playing, I'm happy too. So
it's cool, man. Love the hunger. It's what's got to drive you. And I think as long as you've got that hunger, I think that's and the thing is, when you've got that passion, I don't think it ever leaves you as well. Like we played a festival in fucking Wales on Sunday. We got up at 4:30 in the morning. The clocks had gone forward as well, so we fucking lost an hour's sleep. Drove for 4 hours, played for half an hour, ran around for a bit, and then came home. But I'd do it tomorrow. And I'm sure you'd be the same, man. It's just that hunger in it. You can't fight it.
Absolutely. There's no excuses too, and like no matter, oh well, we got a show to play, or we got this to do, or whatever. You got to make it happen. You got to do it. And you're right, man. It's you got to have that, or you'll get passed by. I mean, there's a lot of good singers, guitar players, songwriters, musicians out there that will gladly take the next step up. If there's a visual for that. So you'll get knocked out really quick. You know, you got to keep it going. And not that it's a competition, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there's always
big time,
somebody willing to fill your shoes. So it's, you know, you gotta keep challenging yourself to do new things and to stay relevant, and all the while, you know, being happy and enjoying it still, and not you know, not becoming a chore or a negative experience in your life, which to me is like literally impossible. But I know it happens to people, but I don't understand that at all. But I know people do get burnt out on it, but I don't think I was wired that way. I think if I lost music, I'd go crazy, which some may say has already happened. So.
Now, one question that we always like to end on. It's a bit of a hypothetical one.
Okay.
If you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be? So you've got your time machine.
Ooh.
You could go anywhere.
This might send you crazy.
Yeah. This could be the tipping point.
That's it. This whole thing's over. No, I'm joking. Mine has been exploded into mashed potato.
I know, right?
Man, that's a great question. From the past, I'm trying to think of, dude. I would have loved to have played shows with Jimi Hendrix, man. I mean, that's like,
that's the fucking one, man.
You know, I think that let's go with that, just because of his, you know, his live, you know, his vibe live was so amazing. There's 1,000 other bands I could say, obviously, but I'll go with that. And then as far as present goes, I don't know. That's maybe let's I don't know. I'm really digging Boone's new record right now. You know, and maybe that's just because that's what I've been listening to as far as
what was that song, Landon? What new album are you digging?
Spoon, Lucifer
Spoon.
on the, yeah. Very cool record. They could be one, or like, I don't know. There's a lot of good bands out there that I would love to do shows with. Cage the Elephant guys, and that's a good question.
You're gonna go. It's a big choice. You're gonna go for Spoon.
I'll go for Spoon. Why not? I've been digging that record. You know, that would change in like, you know, a week, obviously, but let's go with Spoon.
Let's go with it.
Cool. So we've got Goodbye June, and then we've got Spoon, and then we've got Jimmy closing the show.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I mean, it's a pretty fucking cool gig, to be fair. I mean,
it's an eclectic rock show for sure.
Yeah,
but I think it would vibe.
I definitely feel like I'd want to dress up, because I feel like it'd be like one of them. I might whack the velvet out. You know what I mean? It's like it's a bit of an eclectic night. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Right, we'll do what we can. Obviously, it's a bit difficult, but you know, we've already shown, Landon, for you boys, we're willing to stay up until the late hours. You know, so we'll go that extra mile and make this gig happen.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I really appreciate you guys being up so late.
It's cool.
The time out to do that. I know that's not easy, so I really appreciate that, and it's a pleasure for sure.
We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, big time, brother. For those that haven't checked out Goodbye June's most recent record, what are you doing?
I know.
Get involved now. Give it a spin. It is some of the best stuff that's knocking about at the minute. There's a retro rock and roll revival that's happening at the minute, and you boys are at the forefront of it. So get on the train, enjoy it, and just thanks again, Landon. Enjoyed it, man, and hopefully we'll see. You know, when you come over here, me and Ryan will come out and come to a show, man. You know, do this in person, like you say, in a restroom somewhere in the
yes, UK. Coming to a restroom near you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a whole tour and just drive up and down the highway and just play at all the gas stations.
Yeah, we'll be there, man. We'll be there. But yeah, bless you. Appreciate your time. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Maybe we can have a beer when we get over there.